Welcome back into Main Event Sports TV Live here, 1201 South 1st Street. It's going down, Old Louisville Pizza Pub, Rashawn Haven, BTI. You know what? We already had the wings. I know you guys, if you were watching last segment of Main Event Sports TV Live, the wings got done. We good to go. We turned one up for the fellas, and now we're back at it. Fellas, NFL Draft is going live on Thursday.
Christmas in April.
Or like I like to call it, the Lamar Jackson Invitational.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
You know what? I saw a tweet earlier today, and they said we're only hours away from some dumb team selecting Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson. And that was like a legit tweet from like an NFL guy.
There's actually going to be like several teams that's going to jockey to get Josh Allen before Lamar, which is fine. Which is fine for me. Like, I don't mind having Lamar Jackson fall back to the 12th, 15th pick. That's fine with me. Because
how far do you guys? Let's just talk. We'll talk about the draft, as a whole as it pertains to some of the local prospects. But with Lamar Jackson, he's a guy who, I've said and maintained that, pretty much all season, even when people continue to talk about Lamar Jackson not being on draft boards and everybody wanted to talk about, Rosen and Darnold and Allen and Bradford Mayfield, Baker Mayfield. I always want to call him Bradford.
Yeah, you're fine. He's
an Oklahoma quarterback. Everybody always wants to talk about those guys, and nobody wants to bring Lamar Jackson's name up for some odd reason. They never want to put him in the class with these elite quarterbacks. But I've continued to maintain he was going to be a top 20 pick. I've not wavered on that since midseason. That the guy has all the talent and all the tools to be one of the best. Where do you think he's looking at going? I know there's been a lot of talk about the New England Patriots. Like, I've never heard a team so overtly talk about a guy who's not going to be right at the top of the draft. Like, everybody keeps talking about the Patriots. But I'm like, the Patriots pick at 23rd. So if you were really interested in that dude, you wouldn't be talking about him so much because there's an opportunity for that guy to be selected. And some people say that, well, the Patriots are trying to get in the heads of the other teams in their division, i.e. the Dolphins and the Bills and the Jets, so they overspend to get him, and they have to maybe trade up to get him. Haven, what do you take out of that commentary?
To me, like, the latest things I've heard that you may have Pittsburgh try to trade down and get Lamar hopefully around 12. Trade up, Trade up to get him around 12. That would be perfect. Because at 12, he gets to play with Omar Epps. You have a great team, good defense, a great offensive line. You have, good wide receivers. You have a system in place. And Ben Roethlisberger has at least another good year left in him. So you have time to learn the system and to kind of slowly bring you along, which is huge. Because, like, in the NFL, very seldom do you ever have a quarterback you draft in the first round that's ready to go game one. Most quarterbacks, it takes a year to 3 to 4 years actually to kind of get acclimated to the NFL system before they really shine. Some guys like Teddy Bridgewater, Deshaun Watson from last year, they've kind of gone in and balled. Dak Prescott balled from day one, but Dak Prescott, a lot of people want to think that Dak Prescott he just balled from day one, but a lot of people, forget. That's Ezekiel Elliott's team. They try to put the team on Dak Prescott's shoulders, wrong shoulders. That's Ezekiel Elliott's team. The Cowboys have always been a run-oriented team.
Right.
And when they got a running back that can run, everything hums off that. And when you try to make Dak Prescott the focal point of offense, i.e. when Ezekiel went out and hurt, you saw what happened with Dallas. Dallas wasn't the same without that elite level running back.
Yeah.
So my hope is that, yes, he kind of goes in the later rounds, 12, 13, 14, and 15th in the draft. That way, somebody's going to trade down to get him, one. Two, he'll go to a good team. He'll go to a team that has a pretty good offensive line, some weapons. He can learn the system, maybe come in mid-season or early next season and ball,
Well,
which would be, to me, that's the best case scenario.
The team that gets me excited when they talk about Lamar Jackson, his potential, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like,
oh, God, yes.
I think that Jacksonville, with Jalen Ramsey and that defense that they have, Darius and all the rest of those great young defensive players.
They're good running backs.
Great running game.
Decent wide receivers.
Great offensive line.
It's ready to go.
To me, I think that would be the perfect scenario for Lamar to be able to go in. You have a quarterback there who, has been okay. But, they're looking for that heir apparent. And, with Lamar being from Florida, I think there's a lot of draws there. And Jacksonville looks like a team that's going to be around for the next several years. And you would think that there would be an opportunity there for him to really slide in there and kind of take hold of that position.
Because
that would be awesome.
Here's the thing about the NFL. In the NFL, you have about a 3-year window. Most teams have a 3-year window to win the Super Bowl before all your top players get picked apart in free agency. So you have that small window. Jacksonville went to the championship game, so their clock has started.
Right.
They have about 2 more years. Maybe they can squeeze out a 3rd year before, all the guys' contracts come up and they lose half that team. Right. So you got to strike while the iron's hot. And if you can get Lamar Jackson in that system and not give up too much to do it.
See, this is the thing.
That would be love.
I feel like when I'm watching everything going on with Lamar and company right now, and with all these quarterbacks, I really and truly feel as if Lamar's going to be the dude that everybody's trying to downplay, but it's almost like who's seen Lord of the Rings?
Who hasn't seen Lord of the Rings?
Everybody who's seen Lord of the Rings, everybody remembers the Ring of Power, how everybody was fighting over it, and everybody wanted the ring. It was so powerful. And I feel as if Lamar Jackson is that Ring of Power. Like, everybody's trying to slow play it like they ain't looking at it. And they ain't looking at it and just kind of looking out the corner of their eye. And then when it's actually time to draft them, I really and truly think that somebody's going to jump up there like the Kansas City Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, where they traded up into the top 10 to draft Patrick Mahomes at number 10 and take that guy. And I know that the Chicago Bears, they, of course, jumped up into the top 2 or 3 to get Mitch Trubisky. I think somebody – I don't know if they'll jump into the top 10, but I do think that somebody will jump into that top or into the top 2 or 3, but I think somebody will jump into the top 10 to get Lamar Jackson. Like, I can see that happening with a few different teams.
I can't see it, but, I'm still thinking it'd be like a top 12, maybe top 15, somebody would trade to get him, which, like I said, to me, that's best case scenario. That means he's going to a good team, a playoff team that has weapons, a stable coaching staff, and can make some things happen. Well, it may not stable coaching staff, but, a pretty decent team. I think another guy that's actually being, really undervalued in this draft that a lot of guys aren't talking about is Mason Rudolph, the other quarterback.
Yeah.
That nobody's saying a lot about from Oklahoma State. That guy can ball. He has an arm. He's tall, little lanky, but he can spin it. And for him not to get the run that I think we'll see a lot of moves on Mason Rudolph too. I will not be surprised if you see somebody trade down to get Lamar and somebody trade to also get Mason Rudolph, because he's that man.
For me, I think the most important thing for Lamar in terms of his career in the NFL is going to be a personality fit. And when you consider the teams where he would be allowed to be who he is, I think Pittsburgh would be absolutely the best team for Lamar Jackson. When they drafted Le'Veon Bell because the coach said, I like the fact that you're a different type of running back. And he said that people would criticize him about that his entire, career, prior to becoming a professional player. And, they said, Mike Tomlin said, you know what, that's the thing I like about you. I think that he would let Lamar be Lamar Jackson, and that would be the thing that would make him as great as he can be. I think another good fit for him, and I think a lot of people are going to, frown upon this, I think Cleveland would be a good fit for Lamar Jackson. Now I know historically that the whole Cleveland curse, and I completely understand it and agree with it. Let me not front. I agree with it. I mean, you just look at the proof, man. It's not
Cleveland did bring Lamar in late in the process.
Look, I'm here to tell y'all.
Him.
First of all, not just the team, but that city. Dude, that city would embrace the hell out of Lamar Jackson. Cleveland has some of the best fans on the planet.
If anybody, and that's the kind of the lure. It's kind of like being the dude that plays basketball with the Knicks. If you can ever be the dude to bring back the Knicks,
exactly,
like,
you are going to be
solid
of your
gold
life. Even after you're done playing, the people will hail you for the rest of your life.
I mean, and Cleveland's kind of that same way in football.
Man, really?
If somebody can bring back the Cleveland Browns and be that dude,
man,
to bring back Cleveland,
dude, and Lamar, and I'm telling you, they have something. Team, we know how they do. 0-16. They have some of the best fans on the planet.
Oh yeah,
and they would embrace
the
that
dog
dude.
pound.
Man, I'm telling you. Cleveland would be a good fit for Lamar. It might take some time to develop them into a good team, but in terms of a personality fit, they would let that man go out there and put on a show every Sunday.
But unfortunately, Cleveland is Cleveland. They like to draft dudes like Johnny Manziel, and if they draft Josh Allen, I'm just gonna put that out there right now, and I want to let everybody know.
Manziel back. I love watching Manziel play.
Everybody know, what I'm saying, going down Oak Street, is that if the Cleveland Browns select Josh Allen, I swear I will drive to Cleveland and slap the owner myself.
Now, I'm going to say this. Right now, most of the draft boards I've seen actually have like Sam Darnold now going to Cleveland.
I'm okay with that because at least Sam Darnold showed some aptitude.
You know what? I'm going to say this. If I was an NFL GM, I can see why that they have fallen in love with Josh Allen. I mean, I see it. I get it. He's tall. He's big. He has a rifle arm. He can make all the throws. And NFL GMs fall in love with the prototypical quarterback. They always do it. They fall in love with that guy. Like, my mind just went blank. I'm trying to think of Jeff George, another prime example. NFL teams fell in love with Jeff George. He was big, brawny. He had probably the strongest arm.
You know who else they said the same thing about? Ryan Leaf. Jeff George.
They
big,
did.
giant, strong, strapping young lads with, could throw
with
it a mile.
They all had cannon arms. They could all throw the ball 70, 80 yards
and guess
on the
what?
dime.
Guess what was the same thing, the problem with all them dudes? Dumb as a box of rocks.
And I'm going to tell you, let me say this too. I think the Bears would be another good fit for Lamar Jackson.
Well, with them drafting Trubisky last year, that takes them out of the
Lamar Jackson
the Lamar Jackson business would be. But yeah, absolutely,
just in terms
the
of
style of
personality
play
and style of play and the way he would mold into
I
that
personally
city.
think that the Cincinnati Bengals would be a nice spot for him.
Of course, I think we all would love that to happen.
I
just for
I think the
sake of
Cincinnati
proximity.
Bengals, the Arizona Cardinals is another team that I really like.
I'm thinking more of Arizona. I'm thinking more, like you said, Pittsburgh. And I'm really loving the fact that if America may happen, he lands in the Patriots. I think that'll be another nice fit.
I like it from an organizational standpoint.
I think it would be one of the worst fits because he's not going to be allowed to be Action Jackson. And that's who that man is. That's who he is. And if they try to subdue him and try to put the clamps on him and make him a pocket quarterback, they've ruined him.
Well,
we saw it happen before our eyes here in Kentucky and Louisville.
I would not want to see them do to Lamar what they did to my man Donovan McNabb. Because Donovan McNabb, when he was that true dual threat for the Philadelphia Eagles, I thought those were his best years. But when they really tried to keep harping on him and he felt this need to almost just prove that he was this pocket passing quarterback, I don't think he was ever as good.
No, you know what? To me, the problem with Donovan McNabb wasn't so much his style of play, was that Philly was cheap. And they would never surround Donovan with the wide receiver talent they needed to exploit Donovan McNabb. You had James Alligator Arms Thrash going across the middle. I mean,
I never forget that championship game. James Thrash came to the post-game press conference, and with the most dead serious face ever, he was like, I just want to let everybody know I want to personally thank my hands for being great. Like,
and he was horrible.
He was terrible. But
was
the
okay
one
receiver?
good game he finally had in the NFC Championship game, and he was talking smack. James Thrash was horrible.
They went to 4 straight NFC Championship games, which is huge, with trash wide receivers.
Yes.
With literally trash wide receivers. The only time they made it to the Super Bowl
T.O.
is when they brought in
Let's go, T.O.
When they brought in next level wide receiver and Terrell Owens, Philadelphia makes a Super Bowl. And as soon as they get rid of Donovan McNabb, bringing it back up, then they want to bring in guys like Deshaun Jackson, and they want to upgrade wide receiver core for the lighter-skinned wide receiver, quarterback, shall we say, with a lot less talent.
Is that Jeff Garcia?
Yes.
Ugh.
They wasted McNabb's years. If they would have gotten T.O. earlier, if they would have gotten any other next-level wide receiver, Philadelphia should have had at least 2 Super Bowls. At least 2 Super Bowls. That's on ownership.
I really hope that people are not going to be surprised. I hope that people are not going to be surprised if Lamar Jackson ends up in Cleveland. Cleveland has 2 of the top 5 picks. They have the number 1 pick. They have the number 4 pick.
And I believe they have a pick later in the round.
They do.
As well.
I think they have 3 first-round picks, if I recall correctly. Let's see.
They
the very first one in the second
round.
round. And
so they got 3 picks in the first 33 picks.
Right. And Pittsburgh's going to have to start doing some trading because if they hope to have a chance, they are 28th.
Well, like you said, Haven, I've heard that Lamar Jackson has a guarantee at 16. That's what my little birdies told me.
And that will put him around Arizona, Baltimore.
Is that Lamar at 16, if he's there, he will be selected. And I believe that's the Cardinals, right?
No, 16 is Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay, they got Baltimore. I've heard that number 16 at the Baltimore, they will take him if he's there, which surprises me, especially considering they already have Joe Flacco there. But I know Joe Flacco's fallen out of favor in Baltimore over the last couple of years. So I've heard 16. I've heard 17 to the Cardinals. Both of those spots are places where I've heard that Lamar Jackson won't get by those picks.
Right. But
so if you're looking to trade up, if you're the Steelers, you're going to have to get into that top 15.
And like I said, and I'll say this for the last time, is I know it's not a fashionable move, and I know a lot of people won't favor it, but I actually kind of like Lamar to Cleveland. I like it.
It's been interesting, whether Cleveland takes Josh Allen. Like I said before, I understand why GMs are in love with Josh Allen. I get it. I understand why teams are in love with Sam Darnold. I get it. Sam Darnold can make all the throws. He's one of those heady, rah-rah, fire up the guys on sideline type of quarterbacks. He goes to USC. My problem with Sam Darnold is his decision-making or lack thereof. He's a turnover machine. Fumbles, interceptions. He's a turnover machine. And not only that, he disappears for quarters on end.
Well, I mean, if you
in all the USC's big games, he disappeared for like a quarter and a half and was just trash.
Haven, the only guy that lived up to the hype out of those top guys, all we heard was Darnold, Rosen, and Allen. Josh Allen had more interceptions than touchdowns this year. He only had a 50% completion percentage. And with that 56 completion percentage, he had the lowest drop percentage of any of the quarterbacks that are the draft-eligible guys, which means it was not like he was throwing, because we always heard his wide receivers weren't that good. The talent around him wasn't good enough. But he had the lowest drop percentage of any of these guys.
So when he actually can get them the ball,
when he got them the ball, they caught the ball. Okay, guess who had the highest drop percentage? Lamar Jackson. A guy who finished at 59.5% completion percentage, and he had the highest percentage of his passes dropped of any of the draft-eligible quarterbacks. So you have that consideration. But all the guys that were hyped, we heard Rosen, we heard Darnold, we heard Allen. None of those guys lived up to the hype this year. Like, Rosen was okay, but the problem with Rosen was his mouth. His mouth got him into a lot of trouble.
It's Rosen's mouth and his team. Well, it's a couple of things with Rosen. One, his
attitude is terrible.
Yeah, one, his attitude got him. But two, he went through 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years. And they've had like suspect recruiting at UCLA around him. But he has the arm talent. He can make all the throws. He makes pretty good decisions in the pocket. And I think if he really wants to play football, you can actually get him surrounded with good
but
talent.
they keep talking about
Josh
him
Rosen
not being
would be a good pick.
motivated. They say Rosen has all the ability, and he looked like the best quarterback this year as far as his ability to pass, make all the passes. But they say they don't know if his heart's in football, and that scares me. If that's supposed to be the guy who's the face of your organization, if you want him to be the next guy, if he doesn't love football, do you want him as your quarterback? Like, that sounds like Jay Cutler to me.
You know, to me it's like this. And with his not love of football, whatever they like to say, I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that he had 3 offensive coordinators. But
that doesn't make you
systems.
answer dumb ass questions when you're in an interview with NFL brass. When NFL brass is talking to you, what does 3 offensive coordinators have to do with Haven? If I bring you in, do you want to be the face of my organization? You should be able to repeat the things that you should say in your sleep. But
yes,
you have
of course.
people. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think 3 offensive coordinators have anything to do with that. Like, I have a problem with Rosen because he's shown a very bad attitude the whole season. He sat out preseason camp because he wanted to be too much of a superstar to be able to come out there with his team. You know, he wanted to make a big fuss about I'm not ready to play and I'm still hurt and I'll let you all know when I'm coming back. To me, that's like a huge red flag because the dude has all the talent in the world. But do you want to invest that kind of money in a guy with that attitude?
My thing is that really a red flag if he's telling you he's not ready to come back and you're trying to rush him back to save your job as head coach?
All I know is
you want to get me injured?
Billy,
like Steamer Willie Beeman, you're going to mess up my shoulder?
It's like that
to make
dude.
You look good.
You remember that NFL? You remember that NFL
Steamer Willie
draft?
Beeman's whole career because you messed up his shoulder.
You know,
trying to come back to
you
it.
Bring
He's
up
not
any
ready.
given Sunday. I'm going to bring up another football movie. You remember that NFL draft movie with Kevin Costner, which was completely fake?
That was trash.
But you had the number one can't miss quarterback that everybody thought just something was wrong with. And they couldn't put their hand on what it was, but they knew something was wrong with him. I feel as if Rosen is that dude.